Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Big Blue Offensive Podcast with Mike Trainer, Jay Jules, and John Depot. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Big Blue Offensive Podcast. I am Mike. That is Jules. That is John. We're a day late, fellas, because of free agency, that this craziness that's going on. But Jules, what topics do we got to discuss besides free agency?
Oh, besides free agency, we got a lot of quarterback talk going on. Whether or not it's between what's going to go on with Deshaun Watson, the Giants' newly signed backup quarterback. What does this mean with the NFL and how they're scrambling around for quarterbacks in regards to the NFL draft and more? There's definitely some more topics going on. So, that's just some of the main things we'll be covering this evening. And, of course, with the NCAA tournament looming, and any of you watching on YouTube, that's why I got my Syracuse hat on, even though they didn't make the tournament. They had a nice little run. They gave Duke a scare in the ACC all last week. I was there. It's pretty cool. I got to see some action in the Barclay, which was fun, and that's it, man. So,
and it's St. Patrick's Day. It's St. Patrick's Day.
There you go. Right. And St. Patty's Day is less than 24 hours away, right? All right, I got my green shirt that says Lucky. It's like a black shirt, and then like highlighted and etched out, it says Lucky in green. So that's about as Irish as I'm gonna get tomorrow.
Well, today's Stone Cold Steve Austin Day, 3/16. So
there you go.
Gotta open up a beer and fucking pour it down your throat like real quick.
For real.
2 at a time.
And it's the big 50th episode of the Big Blue Offensive today.
Doesn't feel like it, man.
Baby.
I tell you. Time does fly.
It sure
The
does.
golden episode.
That's right. This is
Not
the
to confuse
silver
with the golden
anniversary
shower.
right here.
To 50 more,
That's right. So
what
yeah,
would you
man,
like?
let's go. Let's jump into it. Mike, I know you wanted to jump into Deshaun Watson, right? With things looming. I mean, how quickly it goes from this man being like probably arrested, never going to see a football field again unless he's like on the one that they played for, in prison. And and all of a sudden, now he's the most highly touted after quarterback, especially after the whole Russell Wilson thing, which we'll talk about later for sure. But yeah, man, Deshaun Watson, dude. What's some takes on this? Let me hear what you're thinking.
Dude, the NFL just doesn't give a fuck, man. If it's all about wins, they don't give a shit who they're going to sign. I mean, I understand the charges technically got dropped. I mean, listen, guys. I mean, we all know it's 22 women. This dude's going in a massage room. He's probably got hand jobs left and right from many girls before. He probably asked these 22 girls for a hand job. It never happened, but you can't prove it because there's no cameras in this massage places or massage rooms. They're not undercover cops, that he's asking for a hand job. So it's pretty much just a lewd question to ask. You know what I mean? He didn't technically, from what I heard, didn't force any of these women on him. Maybe he exposed himself. Maybe could that be? That's probably why he didn't go out and proclaim his innocence right away and saying, I'm innocent. He kind of hid behind his lawyers. But now technically that the charges got dropped, but not the civil charges. The civil could happen anytime, and you might see him pay off a few of these women. But, 22. And I just don't like this, with all that being said, with his problems and everything going on, of course, his team's going to want him because it's all about wins in the NFL. They don't give a shit otherwise. If the guy could get wins, they're going to fucking sign him. But there's a narrative going around that I've seen on my timeline a bunch about him. It's a stupid narrative flowing around that the Giants are racist. But meanwhile, because they don't want to go after, Watson, and there's a million reasons why they really can't go after Watson. But it's just like, listen, the Giants went after Mahomes in 2017 draft. They called Arizona to trade up for Deshaun Watson in that draft, if you guys remember, but he went to the pick before to Houston. So, and Reese was our general manager back then. Reese was black, for everybody that don't know. So
For fucking 10 years, black GM, but we're racist.
Right. And this narrative is just, it infuriates me because as a Giants fans, we don't give a shit what color they are. We just want a fucking guy to fucking win games. And these people come out with this fucking narrative. It's like me, like watching the Knicks game. Do I, look at my TV? It's like, you know what? We need 5 white guys out there because that'll be better for the fucking team. Like, get the fuck out of here. I think people need to fucking grow up and move on about that whole narrative. I mean,
There he goes.
Mike, welcome back, bro. We lost you.
Yeah, I know. It'll pick up on the thing, but yeah, I mean, listen, it is what it is. It's a stupid narrative going around, and I just want to get you guys' feelings on that. Black quarterback.
With that smile and grin everything right now, bro, I can't. I'm about to follow him to the edge of a rainbow right now. He's gonna follow goal right there.
That's funny. Yeah, man.
Like you're back.
It's pretty crazy what's going on with Deshaun Watson. I mean, you got teams clamoring for him. Did you guys see the Baker Mayfield fucking penned the letter to Cleveland fans saying like, I'm not sure what's going to go on here, but I just want to thank you guys for supporting me and this and that.
Yeah, dude,
made me happy because fuck Baker Mayfield.
Well, here's the thing with that. I honestly think the fact that they cleared a lot of cap space, they've been moving things around, even though they went out and signed Amari Cooper and everything else, the Browns are making moves, and they're kind of putting themselves in position, especially with Baker writing that letter to sign Deshaun Watson. If I got to put in a bet today, my bet is going to be that they're the favorites for him to sign with. Wow. It's, whatever the deal is going to be involved with, obviously, and it might even be like a trade away where they end up sending Baker to Houston or something. I don't know. I know there's talk that he might end up elsewhere, but you never know, right? It might end up like with a first round pick, a second round pick, a future pick, whatever. Here's Baker Mayfield, I don't know. That's just sort of what it looks like, especially for Baker to be like, yo, nothing has been public with the exception of him writing this letter to the fans that's their quarterback. So what else is there? Apparently, supposedly Watson's supposed to make a decision on St. Patty's Day, which is tomorrow. And, we're going to wait and see. So to me, it's the Browns. I don't know how you guys feel. I don't know what you're thinking with that.
I mean, I guess it is completely up to him because he's the one who's got to waive the no trade clause. But at this point, now that the charges are all dropped, why is Houston still going to trade him for? Why wouldn't they just keep him for themselves?
The only thing I could think of is that he was disgruntled not only about the coaching staff at the time when all this had occurred initially with him wanting out and all that type of stuff, but he said the organization, and he bashed the organization. He threw the owner under the bus. He went after everybody. It's not like he just went after the coach, right, or the coaching staff at the time. So that's it. They got a bad taste in their mouth. He had these allegations against him. He didn't play a full season, and they're gonna get a nice ransom in return. Especially for a team that literally 2 seasons ago with Bill O'Brien at the helm, they gave away all their traded picks. They didn't have a pick to the 3rd round or some craziness. Yes. So they're looking to get back now. And if it means letting go of that huge contract and sure, tremendous talent in Deshaun Watson, of course, whatever, that's fine. They don't care. They're in rebuild mode. They're not winning them all. They're not winning probably in the next 3 years. So, and especially with Jacksonville making all the moves that they did and the Colts fucking, being the team that was like the strongest one in that division, and the Titans, they're nowhere close to doing anything in that division. So they're like, look, let's get a ransom for this guy while we still can, while his price tag is high. And we're going to rebuild anyway. We'll find someone, if not in this draft, next year. Or maybe we'll take Baker Mayfield. And who the hell knows? Maybe he revives his career down there in Houston.
Watson should change his jersey number when he gets traded to number 22 for all the women he got to get hand jobs from.
Oh,
that's great.
What if he just made it 2 and he's got the 2 on the front and the 2 on the back, and when you put that together, it's 22. There you go.
I like what this says. I like the fact that the Giants aren't in on Deshaun Watson. There's been no rumors whatsoever that they're even remotely interested in him like that. It means one of 2 things. Or I guess 3, but realistically, one of 2 things. They like Daniel Jones enough, or they don't think that Deshaun Watson's worth what they have to give up for him when they can go ahead and, if they want to draft another quarterback in next year's draft in 2023, they like what the potential is there. Me personally, I'm going to say they just really like Daniel Jones. That's my opinion. But the NFL, man, I've said it before in this podcast, but they really, really, really know how to sell their product in the offseason, man. When other sports go away, you forget that they fucking exist for weeks at a time. And the NFL is more talked about than most other sports, even when they're not fucking playing, even when other sports are playing.
Yeah.
What they've built is really fucking, legendary.
That's why the cap is
if anything
going
ever happens, this is like bigger than the Roman Coliseum. Like, it's fucking shit's crazy.
Bro, you hit that on the head. I mean, there is just as much talk with this free agency period right now that just began this week in the NFL as there is about baseball. That literally was away for months, and they were having this lockout. All these signings are happening. Yankees go out and sign Anthony Rizzo, and all these trades that are happening, all these major contracts. And yet, Football's keeping pace with them. And they're not even going to play till September. Baseball's getting ready to start in like 30 days for real. You know what I mean?
I give
it's
two
fucking
shits
crazy
about
how that is.
I give two shits about baseball. I'm more concerned about football and when the whoever the Giants are signing and trying to beef up this offensive line.
Yeah, no doubt with that, bro. For real. Like, but
Yeah,
yeah,
speaking
I mean,
of the offensive line, man, it was nice to see them go grab two fucking legit offensive linemen. I don't know that they got Pro Bowl seasons left in them, but from what we were running out there, how tough it was to watch that offensive line work.
Night and day.
At the very least, it gives them flexibility at the top of the draft, and it gives you a reason to feel somewhat comfortable going into the season that, maybe if they just get one guy high in the draft or something like that, that they'll be able to at least compete with being, a decent offensive line.
Well, who we signed? Like for the listeners, who are the guys that we
It
got?
was John Feliciano and now you put me on the spot. I forget the other guy's
Mark
name.
Gawinski.
My Polak.
Yeah, some weird
Mark
name.
Lewinsky's the big signing of the two.
That's my Polak buddy right there. That's blood. That's I'm half Irish, half Polak. Finally, man, we got some good guys there.
The only thing I'm concerned with, I guess, with Mark Lewinsky is that he's got so much praise as a run blocking guard. Like he is top echelon with run blocking. You could probably argue him in the top 12 even, right? Of guards in the NFL when it comes to run blocking.
Really?
That's how well they ranked him. The downfall on him is that his pass blocking is below average.
Just barely.
That we were afraid of. So
just barely.
Just barely. Right?
At least Jones will see it. At least Jones will see it coming from his right side. That's the only saving grace. But he did start playing better like later on in the year, though. Like he got better at that.
He definitely did. Look, and he's still considered one of the top, I believe, like 21 or 22 guards in the NFL. Right. So that literally means that he's better than at least I don't know how many starting guards. Right. If you want to just say the right guard position, he's still in that top third. He's he might be he's ahead of the bottom third. And that's all that matters at the end of the day, right? Because he's kind of in the middle of the pack. And I think that's where it's an average, where when you look at what we had there last year in Hernandez, who probably, and I joked about this on social media this week, he'll probably end up signing, maybe even signing with the Bucks, and it will be a fucking Pro Bowler this year, right? Like it's just ridiculous because that's like the type of nonsense that happens with our offensive linemen, right? But no, listen, he's an upgrade for that. He brings in a veteran presence. He's still considered to be one of these top 20 type fucking guards, and you're getting him on a good deal. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's a win-win-win right there. And I truly believe, and I've been saying this for I don't know how many months at this point or weeks, that I believe the Giants will end up probably taking a tackle with that 5th overall pick. And we'll get into some more of the, what we think of the NFL draft and everything a little later on. But in addition to that, I also see them probably taking one later. There's some names I'm going to throw out there for sure, that I think would just kind of fit in with some of these moves. And as far as, what we call it, Feliciano being that starting center, I don't know, right? We don't know what the health is in regards to Nick Gates. Feliciano can also shift the guard. So you're going to have these three guys kind of, moving around with the addition of Lemieux, because we got to figure he's back, right? And listen, say what you want about Lemieux. He wasn't terrible. He was definitely better he was definitely better than what we had the last season. So, you mix him in, and what a lot of people forget is, everybody wants to just see us go out and get, 3 offensive linemen that are going to be Pro Bowls that could start day one, go with Andrew Thomas. Then we pick up one guy in free agency, and oh my God, we got this stud offensive line. It doesn't work like that. Once all of a sudden you have 2 or 3, maybe 4 guys, especially 3 guys, one that's in the middle, 2 guys on the outside that are solid stud guys in the offensive line, the other guys get better. You play with it. Mike, you're a big basketball guy, right? What happens when you're playing on a team, right? You can only put 5 guys on the court, but all of a sudden, if you have one guy that's a star, and then all of a sudden they put a second dude that's just as good, don't the other guys that are around them start playing better because they got better open shots? It's the same shit with the NFL with the line.
Well, they're calling out
2 or 3 guys. Yeah,
they're calling out like pass protections. Don't forget all that. They got to be collectively as a group. It doesn't necessarily even if you put like say 5 Pro Bowlers on the line, it doesn't mean they're all going to be great together. You know what I mean? You got to find that good mix, and it starts in training camp, and that should like really appease us because. I tell you, the Feliciano move was great. He said in the the press that his center is his position. That's where he wants to play. He signed a 1-year deal to prove it, And for next year, when his contract's up, he wants to get a nice extension. And I tell you, if Gates ain't coming back this year, fellas, I think it's going to take 2 years. You know what I mean? So I don't think people should get their hopes up about Gates coming back. But I think I think John is like, going to step up, be our center. And I'm hoping he plays great where he deserves to get a contract next year. And of course, Giants Twitter will bitch about overpaying him. But regardless, I think that'll be great. Like, I think get those guys like Jules, like I love Lemieux there. I think he'd be good at left guard. But I tell you, man, like it's starting to come together, man. But don't forget, I understand we're going to talk draft later. So we'll get there. I'm going to leave a little hint. We got a little bit. I'm a little bit concerned about Andrew Thomas, but we'll get there later.
And also, real quick, too, don't forget Feliciano was with the Bills. So he's coming over,
knows.
literally working with the same system that he's going to go into with Dable at the head coaching range. Granted, Kafka's going to change a few different things, but he's also coming with an offensive line coach that he's familiar with. So there's a lot of familiarity to the system on top of everything with a 1-year proven type deal with a guy that's definitely an upgrade over Price, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, so we're not accused of being racist like the Giants. I think we need to talk about Tyrod Taylor for a second.
Yeah, sure. Well,
Hallelujah.
Part of the free agent signing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed only because I really want to give Jones every opportunity to play his best ball and see what really we have in him. And, you kind of just took away $8 million from the salary cap each year to see, that could have been gone, maybe towards another guard or whoever the fuck it was.
Not really.
Like, you're shaking your head now.
It's only
reports have come out that $17 million split both ways is not all going against the cap.
It's only $3 million this
There's
year.
a lot of incentives that got pumped into it.
Okay,
that
makes me feel a little better now.
The count against the cap is $3 million.
So it's only 5.5. Well, we saved 3. It's $5.5 million that's counting against the cap now, which is, to me, is a score right there.
$3 million this year.
I mean, that's back in quarterback money,
Yeah.
It's nothing.
$5 to $10 million is what you're going to spend on the backup.
And don't worry about him.
Almost like $3-4 million last year.
He made the same exact contract, Tyrod Taylor. It was the same money.
I mean, so come on, I'd rather have Tyrod Taylor anything over Mike Glennon. Let's be real here.
We don't have to worry about Tyrod Taylor winning the starting job. That's not happening. We all seen enough Tyrod Taylor in his career on these teams to know he's not a traditional starting quarterback. We can put that to bed. He's the backup for when Danny Jones decides to just run head first still. Fucking get hurt,
I will propose a different scenario. Okay. And here's the one that I will propose, right? Because there is a lot of talk. Look, I'm not the one that is on this side of the sort of bandwagon of things, but there are a lot of Jones haters. I surprisingly have started to see a lot more people coming around in support of him, though. To be fair, I've seen a lot more support for him in recent time and everything else. So, bringing in the whole Trubisky thing and thinking that you were going to have this sort of quarterback competition going on, that's out the window, right? Exactly what you were saying, Mike. Like, I don't believe that Tyrod Taylor is going to actually challenge Jones for his job.
That's why Mitch didn't sign here, Jules. That's why I went to Pittsburgh.
Here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing, right? But I do believe that he does push Jones in a way where it's almost a competition role, but it's not. And here's my theory, right? What I'm thinking is that they signed him for 2 years. Okay. Jones isn't signed past this year, right? So he's on a 1-year sort of make it break it contract. Obviously, we know that his contract's been existing for longer, but in a sense, it's like a 1-year type of deal, right? So here's the thing, right? If Jones ends up getting hurt again, misses multiple games, he has a dozen turnovers, fumbles the ball a dozen times, and, you have Tyrod Taylor there. Well, the likelihood is that Jones is done with the Giants, and he's going to probably move on. And they're going to now spend a draft pick on a quarterback going into the 2023 draft, where you now have Tyrod Taylor there as your veteran quarterback to let this kid mature, similar to like what Herbert did with the Chargers, right? And wait a couple of games just happened. He got hurt. Herbert was going to probably take over mid-season or something like that. Instead, it got escalated a little sooner. So there is pressure there, right? Because Jones is like, look, man, like I won't even be that bridge quarterback. I still have this 1-year deal. They bought in this bridge quarterback. If I fall on my ass, there's no pressure on the Giants. They'll have a veteran quarterback that's been doing this for years, that's used to different systems, that can literally fill in for the 2023 season while the Giants figure out their quarterback situation if Jones fails. So to me, it's just additional way and like a different way of sort of motivating him and putting that fire in his ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I think I actually, initially I didn't overreact to the Tyrod situation and signing, but after really looking into it and more, I started liking what we did with it. It was a good deal, especially when I found out that it's only $5.5 million against the cap this year. And now it's literally like we spent 11 on them, which was right around what we spent on backup quarterbacks last year anyway. So to me, you know, it's a good move with everything said and done.
Yeah, that whole money aspect definitely makes me feel better about the situation.
Right,
And
yeah.
you know, he said he's a safety net should Jones not work out or he gets another injury or something like that or whatever. You know, it's a decent guy to have. I think he knows the system and stuff like that. So worst case, it could help kind of, you know, bring Jones along a little bit. I think so, right? I think he's where was Tyrod Taylor before? He was behind Josh Allen, right?
He was just recently. No, Trubisky was behind Josh Allen. So
Oh, right.
Tyrod Taylor was just recently on Houston, and then the quarterback that they currently have, the kid they drafted, I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head. That actually was pretty good down the stretch. He replaced him because Tyrod Taylor had gotten hurt. So he moved from, he was obviously on the Chargers 2 seasons ago, and then Herbert stepped in and took over the reins there because he had a rib injury or something crazy like that. Then he goes over, then he ends up in Houston because of their situation with Deshaun Watson, plays a few games, gets hurt, and then the other kid, Drew Stanton, something like that, stepped in, played tremendously for them. And now he's a free agent again, right? Because he was only literally on Houston for a 1-year deal because they didn't know what their quarterback situation was. And now he's the Giants' backup. You know, the guy's got ties. Yeah, I mean, listen, the guy's got ties to the Buffalo Bills. They, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Bills drafted him.
He got ties to half the league. He got ties to half the league. Bills.
He's fucking he played the definition of a journeyman. My man's been everywhere, you know?
Yo, Baltimore, Cleveland, Houston, Buffalo, Chargers. Remember he was on the Chargers for a while?
Yeah, so I'm just saying, man, right
behind
man.
So he fucking nuts.
Did he line up with Daboll though? He was in Buffalo from 2015 to 2017. I think Daboll got there either 17 or 18. So
I don't know. I don't believe he. I think he missed Daboll altogether, if I'm not mistaken, because I believe Daboll came in 19. He was in. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Daboll was on Bama. He was with Saban in 18.
Yeah, because Rex Ryan was the coach with him when he was on. Tyrod
Taylor
he
took over. Right? Yeah, I mean, listen, that whole Tyrod thing was there. You know,
Rex Ryan got the tattoo of fucking Tyrod Taylor with next to Sanchez and shit after he got to Buffalo.
Listen, you know
what? Do you guys know who Ricky Seals-Jones is?
Know the name?
Yeah.
He's our new tight end.
Really?
Oh, okay. I mean, he's
we
a
just
little
signed
older,
him. I mean, I don't know if he's a starter, but
from Jacksonville, right?
Well, the uniform that he's got on in this picture is of the Washington football team, the Cunt-Manders.
That's right. He went to Washington.
Yeah, he's bounced around a lot. He played on quite a few teams. You know, I think that's just a veteran. It's probably for a low amount of a signing, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
right,
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Jules
is league minimum or something like that. That's just the
Jules. You're right, Jules. They're drafting a tight end. You said it on the podcast a couple weeks ago. That's becoming
this, bro.
More and more.
I think we might get a good one too. Actually, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I really think they might pull the trigger and grab one. Like, if not in round 2, in the early 3rd. Like, I'm really thinking they're going to go that hard after a tight end. I think it may be early 3rd. That just seems to be what Billy Beane's, kind of situation was over in Buffalo. And obviously with Shane, being his understudy, that's what I kind of think may be the case, because they did take their tight ends and things like that, like in the 3rd, 4th round. But I really do think that if there's like a real solid tight end, which in every one of these mock drafts seems to be sitting there with that early 3rd round pick, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up grabbing him, unless, of course, there's like, an Alex Lindstrom still there, or a couple of these other guys that are on the offensive line that maybe might slip to that 3rd round position, even though I think they're getting kind of pushed up to that 2nd round. But
do you guys think Gano is going to be our starter on the right side of the offensive line, the right tackle?
The guy from Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Right now, currently today, without a draft going on, it would be him and Perk competing for the right tackle position, right?
That's if Matt comes back. That's if Matt comes back early with the ACL, which he probably should. He should be back by then.
I think he should definitely be back by August, the latest. I don't really think it's that. Usually that kind of an injury is like 6 months, 6 to 8 months. I don't even think it's that long. To be quite fair.
Yeah.
And their offensive linemen, their legs are different than like a running back and shit. It's a way different.
About the tight end position in the draft. I mean, not if you're drafting somebody in the 6th or 7th round, most likely, but you use a mid-round pick, 2nd, 3rd round pick, something like that. You could get somebody who can instantly be an impact player on your team. Blocking at least help in that regard, but being able to be a little bit of a safety valve for the quarterback, you can get. So you don't have to draft somebody, in the first round to get an impactful tight end.
No
So
way.
No
that
way.
bodes well. For
You
the
need a
season.
blocker for sure, John. You're right. You need somebody who understands blocking because if you don't understand the scheme and don't pick it up right away, then he'll definitely have to sit.
Yeah.
Right.
And speaking of tight
also
end,
too, well, I was just gonna
Another
say
tight end.
also too, you're not looking. We're not looking for a tight end that's gonna come in and try to be, like Pitts or whatever, where they're gonna be the stud player. They're gonna be the main focus on offense. This guy's coming in, like you said, Mike, to be more of a, maybe a blocker first and then a pass catcher later. And that's where names like Jeremy Rucker comes in from Ohio State. Ferguson that I liked a lot out of Wisconsin. So, there's a few of those guys, depending on when the Giants actually feel to pull the trigger, So we'll see. I mean, don't forget, like the Bills got Dawson Knox, if I'm not mistaken, in like round 4, all right, of the draft. And that guy blew up, and he's like a touchdown machine for the Bills with Josh Allen. So you know what I mean? So that's where I think the focus will kind of be. But I think that if you do see, maybe not Trey McBride or Isaiah Likely slip into that third round, but if they're there, I absolutely think the Giants are grabbing one of them in the third round. If one of them actually end up slipping that fall.
I think we should use this opportunity to bid farewell to our favorite tight end, Evan Ingram. Now with Jacksonville Jaguar, and can frustrate the fuck out of Trevor Lawrence for the next couple of years.
Watch him light it up.
However long he signs. What happened?
Watch him light it up.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Of course.
Like, no cold weather. Fuck it. There's only two fucking reporters in my media session. I'm good. Let's go.
I would have really liked to re-sign him, but at like $9 million, it's like, all right, your time. He had his shot here. Like I think it was good for both parties to just move on and go a separate way and fix this team the right way.
I'm definitely a little bit upset about it because Evan Ingram was a cheat code in Madden. And I'm not going to be able to use that anymore.
Oh, he crushed it. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Because you put him on a drag route, bro, and there's not one single linebacker that keeps up with him. So it was like a free 3-4 yards minimum every single time. Down the goal line, it's tight end drag, have the receivers fucking cross over, and it was an instant touchdown like every fucking time.
You're so right, because I was playing a guy. I was probably playing you. I didn't even know it. This fucking guy kept doing the same shit to me because it was like, how sometimes, Sean, you're on Madden online and you pick the Giants, of course, and then all of a sudden the other guy picks the Giants, so you're playing each other like it's a practice game. And I was going against him. I was so fucking pissed, man. I'm like yelling at my fucking mic. It's probably you,
yelling
man.
at your mic. That's great.
What other free agents did we want to talk about before we take a break and go into the draft? Any other free agent, but even on other teams that you guys want to talk about?
Well, I mean, listen, Von Miller just inked
that's crazy
6-year deal for $120 million with the Buffalo Bills. I mean, that's insane, dude. I don't know what you're shot, but
geez Louise.
That's nuts. How much is that guaranteed, though, Jules? How much?
That I don't remember.
It can't be that much. You just can't.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, like, you're not giving a 32-year-old linebacker. They said literally went to the Rams to get that other ring because he's kind of getting to the end of retirement, and they thought that he might sign like a 3-year deal and go back to Denver and kind of run out his career. And all of a sudden, the Bills come in with this bombshell. I mean, look, do I think it's an upgrade for them? Yes, but it's the deal that's like sort of like crazy.
$51.5 million guaranteed, including $45 million fully guaranteed at signing. Bro, talk about a fucking hater.
Yeah,
at 32 years old, I mean, he's not washed, but he's not fucking.
He's not Von
Miller of fucking Peyton Manning.
That's that Super Bowl money, John and Jules. That's that Super Bowl money. He's fucking reaping the benefits off that fucking Super Bowl win, man.
Yeah, I mean, he gets them out of the NFC, so I'm fine with it. But
seriously, I look.
Enjoy your money, big boy.
I mean, I guess the Bills are going for it. I mean, they probably have to. They got to feel their windows a little small. Look, I wouldn't be surprised. J.D. McKissick, who was like inked up. They were like shitting out the tweets and the this and the that. And all of a sudden he's like, you know what? I changed my mind. The commander cons over here, they gave me a contract, so I'm gonna go back and sign with them. And it's like, bro, like were you upset that you were like gonna have to like move from like the DC area or something? Or, like you didn't want to have to pay for a new house and sell it and put it on the market and like move. So he was like, you know what? They're gonna give me the same amount of money. I'm just gonna stay with this team because it's like one team. has been in the playoffs, and they were literally 13 seconds away from their back-to-back AFC Championship game. And the other team, fuck you, they haven't had a winning record in like the last 5 seasons. I don't give a shit they won a division 2 years ago. They ain't going nowhere, especially with Carson Wentz being signed there. So you guys want to talk about it wasn't a trade, it wasn't a free agency, it was a trade. But yo, they went to Carson Wentz. What the fuck are the Commanders doing?
Besides them, poor Dallas, man. They lost out on Von Miller, which was rumored to go there, and Gregory. He was like, I'll sign with you. Then they never mind, I'll go to Denver instead. So Dallas is just everybody's leaving. They're fucking letting Amari Cooper go. It's like it's a great time to be an NFL NFC East Giants fan, I tell you that.
For sure. I mean, listen, what do you guys think of that?
Baby. It's our fucking time.
Listen, I'm just saying, but like, yo, to me, I think with the whole Carson Wentz trade, at least if Washington would have like said, okay, we're going to do this trade, and then we took half his contract, and like the Colts still had to eat the other half or something like that, I could get behind it almost for them. But the fact that they're eating the entire amount on contract this season, it's like, bro, do you guys not remember playing against this guy when he was in Philadelphia? Like, yo,
I know.
what the fuck?
What did they give up to get Carson Wentz, the Redskins?
It was like I think it was like a 3rd round, a 5th round, some nonsense like that. And then they ate all his contract. Not a lot.
They didn't give up like 1st round pick or 2nd round pick or anything crazy.
Now I'm trying to think if they hold on. Let me double check.
I fucking sure hope they did.
Yeah, check that, Jules. But like one more thing, like Eric Flowers got released by the Commanders, so maybe we'll pick him back up, right?
I thought he was one of the reasons why the fucking
they swapped 2nd round picks. So obviously the Colts get to move up in the 2nd round, and Washington moves back.
I mean, how much of a
3rd round pick next year,
Not
7th round pick, you know, just like, I don't know, man. Like, look, but the big thing was the Colts are like, look, we took him, he didn't work out. He didn't even get us to the playoffs. I don't care if it was a harder schedule. If that's what the argument currently is, that the Colts had a harder schedule. You had the league leading rusher in the NFL behind him, and he didn't even take that team that was just a 10-win playoff team a year before to the playoffs. And here comes the Commanders, like, yeah, you know what? We'll give you a 3rd round pick next year. We'll flop 2nd round picks. We'll give you a 7th round pick, and we'll eat his entire contract because we had all this cap space and we just didn't know what to do with it.
Oh my God. What a team. Sometimes you look at teams, you're like, what the fuck are they doing? Like the Giants seem like they're actually doing the right things. Even with like Ricky Seals signing, like, you know, what's the knock on Evan Ingram besides the drop pass that he couldn't run block? Ricky Seals can fucking run block. And then, I mean, you tag it up with a rebuilt offensive line, they're going to run the fucking ball, man. They're going to keep Barkley, man. He ain't going nowhere.
Bro, there's no – you keep him this year. You can franchise him next year. You have 2 more seasons at a relatively easy number to pay. There's no reason to get rid of Barkley. These fans are just like –
They're not. They're annoying.
I've just kind of like – I'm so part-time with fucking Twitter now, man. I just go to check it here and there. And just the ridiculousness that these fucking now all day today, every time if I checked it all today, every time I saw it, it was fucking we got to cut James Bradbury, got to trade James Bradbury by 4 p.m. because there's a free agency. I was like,
they worry about
why
cap,
do you guys
John?
want to get rid of him so bad? The guy's fucking good. Oh, he doesn't fit the scheme. Like why? Because the guy blitzes a little more than the next guy. Like that does not mean that fucking he's all of a sudden rendered useless for your fucking team. The dude was in a Pro Bowl. He was one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL last year, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL the year before. Like, no reason to let this guy fucking go.
John, they're cap experts. They want to be cap. They're so worried about the cap and paying guys. Like, all right, you want to cut this guy, but who do you want to replace him with? That's the big fucking question. Who do you want to go get? If you look at the list of free agents that are left, like, do you really want some of these other guys?
They want to use a 1st round pick. Like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
You want to use a 1st round pick who's going to get paid a lot and has to learn the league instead of using that 1st round pick elsewhere in the team, like an offensive lineman, a pass rusher, somebody like that on a cornerback when you don't have to, when you have guy here already.
Well, you know what it is? It's the money. That's there. He is getting paid. Bro, he's getting paid this year, Bradbury. He is. So
it's
like
only it's only 1 year, Jules. It's only this year.
No, I get it. But that's really the main, like any of the actual Twitter subscribers that actually tweet out, that actually have, you know, sense of what's going on and don't try to pretend like, you know, they're these backroom fucking cap experts. That's the only point that they're pointing out where they're just like, look, there's a lot of other talent in the NFL that's getting paid less for guys that are just as good. And granted, yes, we're going to be giving up someone that we're probably not going to replace, even if we did end up with like a Sauce Gardner or someone like that in the draft. But the thing is, the trade-off there is that the Giants aren't supposed to win the Super Bowl this year. They're not supposed to win the division this year.
I hate that narrative.
Why? I'm just saying. Hey, look, I'm not saying I disagree or agree. That's another topic for another time. But the reality is that's what the expectation currently is today, right? The day before St. Patrick's Day. Listen, it might turn around different. You know what? Like we joke, but like, listen, Dallas has lost some key pieces. They haven't been able to get a big free agent signing. You have Carson Wentz that is now with the Commanders. Philadelphia hasn't done anything in my opinion yet. So it's there. You know what? We've seen a team 2 seasons ago win this division with a losing record. So yeah, it's very, very, very possible the Giants can end up winning the division, but that's not the expectation. That's not the bar that's set currently, right? Like, where I believe the under over is going to be 7 wins. Don't hold me to that yet. It's not official, but I believe that's where the under over is going to be this year. So, we're going to see. We'll wait and see it again, like the draft. That's going to determine quite a few things, in my opinion. But guys, getting to quarterbacks, right? I don't know if you or have seen a year like this. In my opinion, I don't remember one at the very least, where you saw all these quarterback needy type NFL teams in Washington, in Pittsburgh, now the Colts, Seattle, all these different teams that have now emerged as needing quarterbacks. But yet everyone in the NFL, all these teams, with the exception of maybe like Seattle, and obviously, not all the teams have actually answered this question yet. But they seem to be just like going after any quarterback they can. I mean, I know it was rumored that Russell Wilson was going to end up on a different team. Then he wasn't. Then all of a sudden he ends up in Denver. Trubisky goes and signs in Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh was going and saying that they were good with what they had initially and they didn't need to get anybody. You have Carson Wentz then coming out with this crazy ass trade. And now there's rumors about Jimmy G being on the move. So I don't know if that speaks volume that literally with all the talk that was going on at the senior day and the combine and Malik Willis is a top 5 pick and all this crazy shit. Is he? Are any of these quarterbacks worth anything at this point? Because dude, the NFL is scrambling like this quarterback draft is going to be like one of the worst in like 20 years or something. I don't know. It's crazy. What do you guys think?
I should have been a quarterback.
Sure. It seems that way, man. If these teams had confidence that they were going to be able to get a quality quarterback in the draft, I don't know that, you would have seen this, the fucking courting of Deshaun Watson and the trade of Russell Wilson and all this other shit that's gone on. I don't think you would have seen it if, you had 4 or 5 guys that people thought were actually going to be really good quarterbacks. It's so bad. Even the teams that are later in the draft, later in the first rounds, they're still not even really super concerned about the quarterback situation. And, they're treating the NFL right now with the quarterback situation this offseason like an NBA offseason or even an MLB offseason, with all the trades and the fucking movement and stuff. 35 years old. I don't remember, and except for the last maybe year, this offseason, maybe one other, where there's been so much activity. Usually quarterbacks, it's very, very like a team drafts a guy and he's their guy for a while, regardless if he's good or bad. It's a while, and that's it. They stay. That's it. They stay. It's very, very weird to see so many teams moving so much around for quarterbacks.
All these quarterbacks get overpaid every year because there's not a lot of them. And I mean, I don't know if you guys you watch college football. If you watch college football, you understand that there's just no Trevor Lawrence coming out like this draft. There's no Josh Allen coming out this draft. You have eyes, but obviously a quarterback needy team, because it's the NFL and you can't win without one. Obviously, you're going to go try to fucking reach and just hopefully get lucky. And maybe that'll happen, for a team that wants to trade up, for one of our picks. But I guess we'll find out in a few weeks.
That's shocking though. If you really think about it, these general managers, man, if you're in a position where you're going to be drafting a quarterback, probably means that your team wasn't that good. And to some degree, your seat's a little bit warm. Maybe it's just heated seats level, maybe not Inferno, but there's probably some type of hey, I got to fucking right this ship very quickly or else I'm going to be out of my ass. So for general managers to fucking throw away their legacy and bet on a quarterback that they don't really love, that's got to take so much fucking heartache, bro. You know, your entire like lifespan as an executive in the NFL is riding on one fucking kid. Pretty
That's it.
much. That's just how it goes.
You can't have one without the
Pretty
other.
wild thing.
You know, Belichick couldn't do it without Brady. Brady needed,
Yeah.
you know, you need a quarterback. You need somebody to fucking run the right system, man. It all comes down
Listen,
to.
Yep. You mean like Daniel Jones and fucking Brian
Oh, boy,
Dable?
here we
That's
go
what's
again.
gonna happen. I hope people.
I'm telling
Yo,
you.
I just want like I think John, you tweeted like vindictive season or redemption season or
Vindication,
whatever.
vindication.
Vindication. That's right. So it's like I just want like can you imagine if Jones and Barkley goes nuts next year, right? Behind like a rebuilt offensive line or whatever. You know, I'll get to my prediction in the draft or kind of a hopeful situation when we get there after a commercial break. But can you imagine those two having career years? And then, you know, say we get, you know, go like 10-7 or whatever the hell it is, and we go to the playoffs with those two guys. They're awesome. And I bet Giants Twitter will be still like, no, we can't fucking pay him. We can't pay a fucking running back. They'll still fucking cry no matter what. They can't just fucking root for the guys and appreciate that they're gonna, you know, that hopefully they have a great year.
But the writing's right on the wall for that, man. You're gonna see you can't pay Saquon Barkley. Don't franchise tag him. You should have traded him. And because he had a good season, he's the reason why Daniel Jones had a good season. So you can't pay him.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
gotta get rid of both of them. So
Yep.
Listen,
just get ready for it because that's what you're
Yep.
gonna start seeing.
Yep.
I wonder too,
on Twitter.
I wonder too, and here's just the rumor that I just been kind of circulating and throwing out there for the last couple of months, right? Where I
Spreading
keep
rumors,
saying
Jules?
that No,
You're
I was
spreading
gonna say,
rumors, Jules?
yeah, a little bit, so once in a while, where I keep saying that, and I don't think it's Malik Willis because he's just gotten way too much attention.
Hell
But
yeah.
one of these quarterbacks is going to emerge. I don't give a shit what you do. You can look at every draft throughout out of the last 25 years. And in each draft, there's a quarterback that emerges. There is. That's just a fact. Whether or not he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, that's another story for another day. But there's one that emerges that ends up being good, ends up surprising people, ends up winning more games, throwing more touchdowns than he was expected to do, right? And I foresee that. I think personally, though, that the NFL and these GMs, they feel like they got burned. If you look at some of these past drafts, right? You throw out Fields, which, all right, he was a rookie. We'll see what he does. And, Jalen Hurts and Tua and Josh Rosen. And, even let's look at Baker Mayfield, right? And Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson. And, look, I'll even go out there and say Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's in a prove it year. If he really is this superstar, he's going to have to come out and play this year. So, all these quarterbacks, I mean, look, let's look at the Bears. I mean, the Bears over the last, I think it's like 6 years or so, have drafted two top quarterbacks in the top 10, top 11, wherever they grabbed Fields last year. They went after, they traded up to get Trubisky, they traded up to get Justin Fields, and they didn't get it right yet so far. We don't know. I mean, granted, the jury's still out a little bit on Fields. I'll give the kid another season, but that's the reality behind it. So, I think the NFL is kind of like sick and tired of getting burned on this, which, like I said, kind of falls into that, theory of mine where I'm not going to be surprised if one of these teams that does hang and ends up getting one of these quarterbacks or their choice of a quarterback doesn't end up with something that ends up being really a stud. And it may not be the first quarterback taken off the board. It might be like the second and third quarterback, and maybe it's late first round, mid first round, or early second round. If I mark my words, I'm telling you, there's going to be one that actually ends up surprising us this year.
I agree with you, Jules. I think it's actually going to be even later. I think it's going to be like a third or fourth round guy that comes out of nowhere and doesn't light the league on fire, but he's a top, 18, 20 range, 17 type quarterback, competes like Andy Dalton almost. Teams in the playoffs sometimes they're competitive. You win a game, red rifle, like that type of a quarterback.
Yeah, maybe like a David Carr or
exactly.
Right, I'm telling you, there's gonna be one guy. But I also got a feeling. I even think they might even be better. I just got a crazy feeling because it's just. I really think that the NFL, they cannot be. They can't sit here and tell me that all these guys they're all just backup material, right? That's it. Every quarterback coming out of college this year is just straight up backup material. Meanwhile, they always go crazy over it. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would this be the one season with nothing really changing in college football, be the one season where every quarterback that came out is all just straight backup material? Listen, I know if I was like a Desmond Riddler or, Little Hands and all the other guys that I make fun of the quarterback for this year, I would have a damn chip on my fucking shoulder. You know what I'm saying? I want to go out and try to prove something. I'm like, look, I can play. I can fucking play.
Well, I think they're all trash, but let's take a quick commercial break and we'll get back into more detail on the NFL draft coming up in a few weeks. We'll be right back on the BBO NYG podcast. All right, we are back on the BBO NYG podcast. I am Mike. That's Jules. That's John. Guys, we got to talk a little bit about drafts. John, I'll go to you first. You have any high hopes that you want the Giants to take at number 5 and 7? Like, what do you really want for them to happen?
Well, I've been saying this since last season, the last draft season. I really, really, really want them to fix the offensive line. So I don't have anybody specific. I guess, once we get into April, I'll hitch my wagon to somebody like I did last year with AVT. But as it stands right now, I really just want them to get an offensive lineman. Now, given the fact that they did get 2 offensive linemen in free agency, I'm a little bit less aggressively wanting two guys at 5 and 7 on the offensive line. I want to have confidence in the 2 free agents, Andrew Thomas, and then the combination of Nick Gates, Shane Lemieux, and Matt Pert, that they can fill out a decent offensive line with just 1 draft pick, and then get a Kyle Hamilton like Mike wants, or anybody, anybody they deem is going to help the fucking Giants win. Another pass rusher if they can get like Thibodeau to go along with Azeez Ojulari. There's a lot of different things that we could do. It's just, we're 5 weeks. Oh, you know what? I got a countdown. Just like
that's right. What's the countdown? Let's go.
The countdown is at 42 days as it stands right now, gentlemen. So we're 6 weeks away on the.
I went to you first, Sean. I went to you first at that reason. I knew you were going to bring up the offensive line. I tweeted something out the other day. Jules, I'm going to go. I know you're going to go right after me.
Go ahead, man.
And no, but you're going to go against what I'm going to say. You're going to think I'm nuts based on what we talked about this podcast before. I was just thinking out loud. Can you imagine, right? If the Giants, like with these moves they made in free agency, now at number 5 and 7, say they do this, they have Thomas at left tackle, right? Then they draft your boy Ikunu.
Just call him Icky, man. He goes by Icky. It's cool.
Icky Woods right there. You put him at left guard. Gates obviously is not coming back, but we signed Felicio to be center. I think that's solid. Then you got my Polak, Glonowski. And then what if you draft Neal too at 5 and 7 or vice versa? And then you have him at right tackle. Can you imagine, right? And then like later on, maybe the 3rd round, they go after like that tight end, Likely. And then you have a unit that we could actually see how these weapons perform. Like the Giants do have weapons besides Barkley. We got, Kenny Galladay, obviously, Shepard's coming back, Tony. And, can you imagine just like wanting to see that? You know what I mean? I almost like try to trick myself into like wanting that to happen. But Jules, I know you want the defense.
Right. So you were saying, so I'm sorry. You said with the 5th pick, like Neal, and then who was going to be with the 7th overall pick?
Icky.
Oh, so you're thinking that.
Imagine they do that.
Back-to-back tackles.
Right. Imagine they fucking do that. I know it sounds stupid, but it's just like, it almost like it seems like, damn, that would be fucking pretty sweet to see like a complete offense and get to see these weapons and put up points on the fucking board, but I know that's not realistic though. It's just like, almost like, I'm trying to trick myself into wanting that. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not realistic simply because there's been back and forth talk that both those tackles are going to go in the top 4. Right. And sometimes they have at least one of them going. Right.
But the free agent signings, Jules, look what happened in the free agent signings.
Right. And if anything, that at least pushes one of them out of that top 4, I think. Right. Where I just see maybe one of them going. To me, I've probably been saying this, gosh, I like since January, basically. The Jets are the biggest factor. Right. I must have preached this fucking 100 times over that they're the biggest factor. Right. You were a huge Kyle Hamilton fan. Right. I keep saying the Jets might grab him, right? If you're looking at the fact that, 2 edge rushers are definitely going, and now people even saying that maybe Trayvon Walker has worked his way into the top 4 in this draft, right? And so you have all that kind of going on. I don't know which way it's going to sway, right? And
Jets signed a safety. They signed a safety. I don't know.
Right. All right. Right. They signed a safety and an offensive lineman. So now it looks like they're going away from both of those things. So now what do you do? So now they're probably gearing up that they might go pass rushing. Right. So they're hoping that like Thibodeau or somebody like that falls to them at 4. Right. They're key, man. They are fucking key to how this draft, I think, is going to unfold for the Giants at 5 and 7, especially with Carolina, too. To me, I know obviously, and people are going to sit there and be like, oh, of course, you're shouting out the obvious, man. You're talking about the teams that pick before us and the team that picks in between. But yes, they really do hold that much weight in this draft because it's going to be very interesting to see where those teams are going to go, because to me, the Jets and Carolina can go in a million different ways. And, yes, everyone kind of thought that the Jags were definitely going to get that left tackle, but man, they went out and spent a ton of money. I don't think they're going to go left tackle anymore. I think they might just go pass rusher. They might just go take Hutch right off the board. And then what? Now you're going to leave Detroit, who has a good offensive line. Do they grab Hamilton? Do they grab Sauce? Or do they end up getting Thibodeau, right? And then it goes to the Jets. So, it's going to be very interesting how this plays out. Or, look, the Jags might turn around and surprise everybody, right? They're like, yo, we're going out and getting these weapons. We signed Christian Kirk to an outrageous contract, by the way. All right? Like, Christian Kirk here to do stuff out of 1,000-yard season, and he just got signed like he's Julio Jones, but whatever. They might want to say, look, we do, even though we signed this, we want another tackle. We want to have foundation so that Trevor Lawrence isn't running for his life this season. Maybe. And no matter who we put in behind a running back, we're going to be able to run the ball. And we're putting in these offensive weapons with Kirk and Ingram and who they have there on the roster currently, where they're like, look, we just want a protection. So I don't know, right? Like, it's crazy. The Jets could go that way. It's going to be an interesting four. But the reality is this. The worst case scenario for all Giants fans, right, is that Icky goes, Neal goes, Hutch goes and Thibodeau goes, right? So that the two edge rushers go and the two fucking tackles are gone at this point in time. And now that would become interesting, right? Because sure, we could go and grab Hamilton and say that he is the best there. I don't know how big they are on Walker, saying that he would be an edge rusher there. I don't know if they want to bring up Cross. I'm not a huge fan. Cross's name just caught fire towards the combine and everything else. So that's where things get interesting. That's where you could just grab your stud at 5 and hope someone's knocking at your door with that 7th pick. So at this point in time, with there's still some free agency going on, it's very interesting what could happen in this draft.
I just worry about Andrew Thomas being with his ankle injury. That's 2 years in a row, surgery. And, that worries me. That's why I think they should draft a guy like Neal that can play left tackle in case you want to move Andrew to the right side or he gets hurt, even though Andrew's been phenomenal on the left side. I'm just saying that just based off of injury concerns. That was my preview from before. That's all I'm worried about.
For me, without a doubt, it's Icky, bro. I like him the best out of all of them. Right. So if he's sitting there at 5, unless it's Thibodeau, you want me to get a dream scenario choice where I'm going between Icky and Thibodeau, I don't know. All right. That would be well, you got to kind of raise out there to social media and everything. All right, you're sitting there at 5, where you going to take it? I guarantee you that shit is split down the middle 50-50, right? It's not like everybody's going to be oh, Icky all day, or they're like Thibodeau, because you can make a million other arguments for what you take in 7th. I mean, look, there are other guys like Jermaine Johnson. I don't know if you take him at 7 or anything like that, but he is a name that's circulating out there who did move up not only in the Senior Bowl, but also in the Combine out of Florida State. There's a couple of guys that are there, man. I want to hold strong at this point and say that I think they have an optimal position with that 5th overall pick, and I think that things are not going to unfold like everyone thinks they are. So therefore, I do think either one of the tackles or one of these edge guys will be there at 5. Which of the 4, I don't know, but I got a really strong feeling that one of them ends up there at 5. And then when you get to 7, it almost feels like you're reaching for everything else. And I'm telling you, if the Giants can just get some sort of offer to trade back, I think that would be the best thing they can end up doing. And then they can maybe grab a Devin Lloyd later on in a higher pick of the first round, or a couple other guys, or maybe even Jermaine Johnson's in that area if they trade back to say, I don't know, just argumentatively in the 18th, the 13 to 18 range of a pick, right? I don't know. That's just my feeling on what the Giants are looking at currently as in March, about 6 weeks away from the draft.
Exactly 6 weeks away from the draft. Fucking by the time you listen to this, will be Thursday. It'll be exactly 6 weeks away from the draft. And drafting somebody with the 5th, and then finding a way to trade down and pick up another first-round pick or a second-round pick next year. First-round pick, ideally, for 2023 to have back-to-back seasons with 2 first-round picks. That would be fucking dope. Just cash out fucking multiple first-round picks back-to-back years. That would be phenomenal. But if they use 5 and 7 and they fucking walk away and we have an offensive line that helps us win games, sign me up.
The only way they're gonna, I know people were so hyped on that wrestler Tyler Linderbaum that's gonna be our center. The only way we're gonna get him is if they do trade back in the mid fucking first round and then snatch him up, and then that could be a possibility. But the more I'm kept reading up on it. I just don't think that's a realistic, option that's gonna happen. But you never know.
No, and look, you know what? It's weird. Even with like the combine done, Senior Bowl done, all these things done, and all the evaluations in, there's still always surprises in the draft. There just are. Like no matter what you do, there's always a fucking surprise in the draft. There's at least a couple. I shouldn't even say just one. There's always multiple surprises. There's, look, Gettleman said, "Oh, I never traded in my life," and then all of a sudden he traded back, right? When we were at that 11th pick last season, right? Like there's always things that somehow something emerges. Someone all of a sudden says, "Holy cow, I can't believe this guy is still out there. I need this guy. I'm going to offer you all this just to move up," right? So like, it's just something that always happens. Is going to be a surprise. I can't say enough that I really think that the Giants are in a good position to land a top player, at least with that 5th pick. The 7th pick to me is where things kind of get a little interesting and a little bit more of a wild card type of play. But to me, at that 5 spot, I don't know. Like I can't see, guys. I just cannot see both tackles and both edge guys going 1 through 4. I just don't see it. If that's the case, then fuck it. Take a shot with Hamilton then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it happening. Like, I don't see it happening, but I want it. I want it to happen.
Look, there's other guys in this draft that are going to be very good, talented guys in tackle, guard, and center positions that are going to be available in that 2nd round. There's no doubt. Listen, people fall every single year. We could even just look at the Giants team.
Disease.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. But I was going to start with McKinney. McKinney was supposed to be a 1st-round safety. He was supposed to be the first safety off the board, which he was, but nobody knew he was going to fall in day 2. And he did. He fell right on the Giants' lap, right? And Ojulari, shit, we talked about taking him in the 1st round with the 11th pick last season. They were mentioning that. Yeah. And the dude fell all the way to us after we traded back in the 2nd round. So people fall all the time, right? So there's plenty of guys that are getting pumped up to be in the 1st round, especially when you start looking at picks like 17 down. They're never certain. And all of a sudden, those guys can end up on day 2, and now you're grabbing a stud in the early 2nd round on day 2. So that's why I think we're in great position. To me, I think that no matter what we do with the 5th pick, and I'm going to go on record saying this again, no matter what we do with the 5th pick, I do not think you're going to get Stephen A. Jules going crazy. I think no matter what, I'm going to have to settle and agree with that pick. I think that's how strong we are going to be looking at that 5th pick. The only thing that comes into play now is that 7th pick. I don't know what's going to happen, what we're going to do with it, who's going to still be available, who slips, who wants to trade up, who wants to do this. With all the quarterbacks sort of kind of going everywhere, I don't see a team like the Colts or Seattle knocking on the door. Although Seattle got back their pick, Seattle could very easily at 7 decide they, for whatever crazy reason, or maybe even at 5, that they want to now jump up and grab a quarterback, right? You never know, right? If it ends up being where Seattle does not get a quarterback between today and the draft, they're that team that's sitting on, I believe they have the 10th pick now overall. They're sitting from Denver. Denver had 9th, whatever it was. They got Denver's 1st-round pick for Russell. They might be that team that literally
gets left to trade.
Well, yeah, no, obviously they would have to give us this 1st round, and maybe next year, and maybe something else later in the draft, and a couple of more incentives, maybe a player or 2 thrown in there, like you mentioned in the past. Maybe they throw in an offensive lineman. Who knows, right?
That'd be good.
But like I could see maybe in a shocker, Seattle knocking on our door for that 5th pick, basically saying that they want to grab their quarterback right there because they saw something that no one else did, or they kind of been listening to Jules and being like, you know what, he fucking, he is right. Like one of these guys is going to emerge as a NFL starting quarterback this season. So I don't know.
Yeah, but then Seattle's getting those Broncos picks, and then probably late 1st rounders because the Broncos will be good. So I'm like, fuck that, fuck that trade. I don't want to. But yeah, man, it should be good, man. 6 weeks, right? I can't wait.
6 weeks, man. That's what it is. So real quick, before we wrap things up, I wanted to throw one out there real for you, just because I saw this, and I have my number that I tweeted out there, and I'm just curious to hear what you guys would tweet, what you want to do. And realistic, guys. Be realistic here, please. I don't want anything over the top. Let's not get too crazy. But throw out your stat line for Kenny Galladay's 2022 production season, catches, yards, and touchdowns.
Wow.
Go ahead, John. I'm
going to go to you
8
first.
Touchdowns.
800 yards, 8 touchdowns.
How many catches?
What's league
76.
average now? Like between 40 and 60, I guess.
Yeah, somewhere 60, I would say, is about average, probably.
76.
So 76, 800, and how many?
8.
8. All right.
Wow. Kenny Galladay. I mean, Shepard's really his favorite receiver. Galladay.
We got Tony.
And we got Tony who's going to be fucking Electric. Galladay, I could see having like, yeah, probably like, I'll go. What'd you say, 800 and something? How many, John? 880.
800, 8 touchdowns, and then 76 catches.
All right, I'll go 801. I'll do that price and right shit. 77 catches and 9 touchdowns.
All right, so
I hope
so
you're
guess-
right. I'd
guess
rather
you
you
guys-
be right.
I know.
I guess
Real.
you guys literally have Kenny Galladay as a possession receiver. Because if my man's catching up there 80 catches a season, only
don't
having
like
800 yards, what is the average in there, guys? Like, seriously. Like, all of a sudden, Kenny
True.
Galladay's a possession receiver now.
That's,
Fine.
that's over 10 yards to catch.
Yeah, all
I don't
right,
see that as being-
barely. All right, that's cool. I'm sure he's gonna have 1 or 2 deep ones mixed in there, but like for the most part,
Yeah.
that kind of seems like a stat line of about fucking possession receiver. It means he's
All
not
right,
having
lower-
many.
lower it
He's
to
not having many
57
100-yard
catches.
games. That's for sure. He's not having many 100-yard games.
57 catches. I'm gonna go there.
All right. If you want to lower it, that makes it a little bit more sounding. Look, I'm with you
Anything's better
guys.
than this year, Jules. Jesus Christ. We're going from 0 to 800. So
Yeah, that's fair. That is absolutely fair. Look, I put it more around the lines of I see him returning back to his 1,000-yard seasons. Okay, so I got Kenny Galladay at 72, 1050, and 7. That's realistically there. I do see like him being a little bit more of a red zone threat than not, right? Because if you're going to look at the style of offense that we're going to start to mirror, you got to look at what Buffalo had. Now, I'm not saying that Galladay is going to turn into Diggs because, it's crazy. Everyone goes around talking about how Daniel Jones is going to be the next Josh Allen, and we have all these comparisons. Well, what about Kenny Galladay? Granted, he was hurt. Granted, he gets hurt a lot. But when he's not, he's one of the better NFL receivers. And no one even comes close to trying to say that would be our Kenny, our Stephon Diggs. Nobody, right? So you would have to think that's going to be our one, with Shepard then kind of falling into that role of maybe Cole Beasley, right? Or a few of these other guys where he's going to have man catches.
Number
He's
3.
gonna have a bunch of catches,
Yeah.
and literally like that. That's what you got to think, that this is the style of offense we're going to mirror, right? Even when you look at Kafka and you bring in Kansas City, and you have Tyreek Hill, right? Someone's going to be the Tyreek Hill of this team. And I'm not bringing in Tony. I'm not forgetting about Tony, but I think Tony might be more of like the Gabriel Davis role, where like they used him like that, where he's that long shot deep, and he just kind of emerged in the playoffs, right? So like that's how I kind of see this team shaping up, where you could see sort of Sterling Shepard having a mirror type season to a Cole Beasley, Kenny Galladay being the Stephon Diggs of the team, and then you have Gabriel Davis sort of being like the Kadarius Toney being Gabriel Davis. That's just what I see.
Where do you think Robert Forster fits into all this?
I don't know yet. I don't know if that's just you're bringing in for depth, since all our fucking receivers get hurt every goddamn season. I don't know if he's going to bring more value to the special teams.
He's
I think a lot more of that'll come out when it comes to when it comes to spring training. They're going to want to see what they got. Let's just face it. Like with Tony, we saw flashes of some great ability, but the guy can't stay on the field, and he was lost in the sauce all year. So maybe this coaching staff can get at him. We don't know. At least with Kenny Galladay, I know he's a veteran. His biggest thing is staying healthy. Just kind of like, to me, it should just be like the Giants is like health with like a couple of question marks, because healthy, these guys could be really good. Not healthy, who the hell knows, right? Like or half seasons or a couple games. I mean, look, if we look at that offense, Tony was hurt, Shepard's hurt, Galladay's hurt, Daniel Jones was hurt, Barkley's hurt. Like all these weapons that you guys talk about, they never stay healthy. Like, dude, I'm hoping that we can get at least 14 plus games out of these guys. We get 14, I'll be fucking ecstatic. You know what I mean? So that's just some of the things to keep in mind. But I am going to hold out for Kenny Galladay. I think he's a better football player than he's put out in the last 2 seasons. I think he's going to get over this injury bug. I think they're going to primarily use him and focus on him. And then, again, I'm not going to say he's going to be Stephon Diggs. He's not even going to come close to 120 catches and 1,600 yards and 7 touchdowns. He ain't going to come close to that shit. But 72, 1050, and 7, very realistic for a number 1 receiver. As long as he gives us 14 plus games, those numbers do not seem out of reach at all.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, well, listen, guys, that's it, man. I think that brings it close to our 50th episode. All right, so yeah, we got 50 in the books, man. So look, it's gonna be fun. Maybe we'll do a little something special for the 75th or the 100th for sure. But definitely keep subscribing and listening, because when you smash that like button on YouTube and you follow us and hit some likes and send some things, messages and everything else when you listen to us on the podcast. It does a lot for the channel, man. It helps us out tremendously. We always appreciate it. So definitely show some love. Tell some friends at work. Tell some friends at home. Tell some friends wherever. Tell family members, tell them check it out because we do a lot more here than just cover Giants football. We're always about the NFL. We try to make it lighthearted and make jokes and keep it entertaining as well. So we do appreciate anything and all subscriptions and likes and everything else. It's always greatly appreciated. But for now, we will officially wrap up our 50th episode, and we will be back next week. And we might have to make a new time in the next coming weeks because someone here likes to play softball, and that might interfere with our normal time. But don't worry, we'll bring you up to date when that occurs. But for now, catch us again next week right here. We'll see you later.